There we go. So we're starting to record now. So everyone, welcome to the session. I'm going to minimize this. So now you should just see, if I put this down a little bit, you should just see the website, correct? So this is the main page for the Ontario Veterinary College. And I want you down there. Okay, and you can see that it's ovc.uoguelph.ca. So it's kind of a good place to go to. We have a lot of fun events. You can learn a lot about what OVC does. And then if you're interested in the vet program, you would go to the Learn tab and then go down, and the first one is Explore DVM program, and that's the tab that you need to go to. And I would say you should look at it fairly regularly, because if there's any changes in admission requirements, things like that, this is where you'd find it. We have a cool video if you want to watch it from an international student from Texas talking about his experience. And then the first thing you see are the cohorts that you can apply into as an applicant to the program, depending on your citizenship as well as where you are in your studies. So today, my talk is going to focus very much on the undergraduate cohort. So the difference between domestic undergrad and domestic grad is just where you are in your education. So undergrad cohort means that you're applying with marks from an undergraduate degree. And the grad cohort, it doesn't mean that you've graduated your bachelor's degree. It means that you are applying from a master's or a PhD program, and you're using your experience as a graduate student. So not graduating from bachelor's, but a graduate student doing graduate studies. So very exciting this year. This is the first year we've added 20 seats to our program for people from Northern Ontario. So the two domestic undergraduate cohorts are the ones where you have to have at least 12 months straight of Ontario residency, and you can't accumulate residency while you're in university or college. So anything post-secondary while you're in class doesn't count towards your residency. You do have to live for 12 months straight before January 1st of the year that you want to get into the program. So just be mindful of that. And the cohorts, more about the cohorts are down here. So if you click on that, it'll take you to all the information about the vet program, stuff like that, and then your eligibility to apply. So this is where it tells you exactly what the cohorts are. There are 100 seats per year of domestic undergraduate cohort, and then 20 seats for people that are from the north. And it tells you here, this is what the Northern Ontario area is made up of, what regions, what districts. And if you've lived there at any point in your life for 12 months, you can be considered for the Northern cohort. And it's a very exciting cohort because it's going to focus a lot on veterinary medicine and living and working in Northern Ontario, with the hope that people will go back and want to be veterinarians back in the north, because we certainly need more people there. But you can still apply in the domestic undergraduate cohort, which is for everyone. And the difference is that for this cohort, there's a bit of difference in the final year of the program, but you don't have to know that right now. For the sake of application, everything is the exact same except for residency. So, and that's defined down here as Northern cohort. So that's the one I'm going to focus on today. If anyone is thinking of applying through the graduate cohort, or who are not Canadians and apply through the international cohort, please reach out to me after, and we can have a chat and I can go through it with you. But The difference is that if you have dual citizenship or have any kind of Canadian citizenship or have permanent residency or any other status, then you would apply as a domestic student. If you do not have Canadian citizenship, you are an international student. So if you are a resident of another province, you would have to apply to the veterinary program that services your province. So a little bit different than other types of degrees. You do have to apply to the program that services where you live or where you're a resident. So in the West, if you live in BC or Manitoba or I'm trying to think. I'm missing a I'm missing a province. Help me out if you guys remember. There is the school in Saskatchewan, of course, Saskatchewan. So they have seats for those three provinces. If you live in Alberta, there's a school in Calgary now, the newest school. If you live in Quebec, you would go to the school in it's in St. Hyacinthe, but it's part of the Université de Montréal. And the program there is French. So it does accept Franco Canadians from other provinces. And that's, you know, if you've always been educated in French and you want to continue your veterinary studies in French, that school is available to you, and that's the exception. And then if you live out east in the Maritimes, then you would apply to the school in PEI. So those are the 5 schools in Canada, and you have to apply to the ones that service your territory. But if you want to come to our school, you can, under the circumstances that you would live here for 12 months, and then you could apply. So you would have to have 12 months straight in a row by January 1st, but that's totally doable. If you really want to come here, then that's what you do. You live here, and then you can apply for the next year to get in. Okay, so that's the residency piece. Let's talk about the academic requirements. So first thing is that minimal requirement for academics is that you have to have taken 4 semesters full-time. So for this cycle, if you're applying to get in for fall 25, full-time is defined as 5 courses per semester. So that would be 2.5 credits at Guelph, and in other systems, like if a full-time 1 semester course is 3 credits, that would mean each semester has to be 15 credits. And that is going to change after this year, so just keep that in mind. And then these are the courses that you have to take in order to apply to our program. So you have to have 2 biology courses. So if you have a double weighted course, that could count as both of the prerequisites. You have to have a cell biology course, a genetics, a biochemistry, a statistics, and 2 humanities or social science courses. And that's a very big category. So right here is the list of courses you can use from Guelph that are acceptable as prerequisites. I'll just click it and show you what it looks like. So these are some of the rules, and then these are all the courses you can use. So this is the biology, and you can see it's a huge category. There's lots of different biologies, and then biochemistry, cell biology, genetics, stats, and then humanities, and then social science underneath that. So it's a long list. And yes, it does contain courses that are no longer offered at Guelph, but we keep them on the list because, like I said, you can apply anywhere down the road. So you could finish your bachelor's and apply 10 years from now. So we wanted to keep those courses on the list in case you had a course that you could have claimed back in the day, and you can still use it. So that's why that's there. All right, so let's go back. So if you're from another university and you're not sure the course that you want to take is good to be used as a prerequisite, then you have to go through the course evaluation request, which is down here. So you click that tab and it tells you what the process is. It's all done electronically. So, but do it ahead of time. We suggest that you do it even before you take the course, just to make sure that you're not disappointed down the road and that the course that you have taken is not usable in the end, right? So just make sure that you do that. And so that's the rules around the courses. There's a lot of other rules. One major rule that I want people to be aware of is that you can't retake a course that you've passed. So let's say you take, oh, I don't know, biochemistry, and you get like a 70 and you're not really happy with that. So you want to try to take another biochemistry to get a higher mark so that that can be your prerequisite that you put forward. You cannot take the same course again. You have to take a level up course. So you can't replace a course with the same course. You have to be very careful about taking courses that are repeated content. So again, be very careful about that and make sure that you get permission if you want to take courses in a different order. And again, if it's something that is required by your program, then you'll need a letter from your advisor saying you had no choice. This is the way that you had to do it. Okay. So that's there. And of course, there are lots of things that happen. Sometimes people get sick or they have an accident or, they're diagnosed with a learning disability and they have to be accommodated and they can't take full-time semesters. Then absolutely, you should go through the admission requirement accommodation request process and have semesters that are not full-time claimed as full-time because it wasn't your fault. You had to take less than 5 courses per semester, and you can definitely submit a request. And if you have enough documentation to support your claim, let's say a letter from a doctor saying you were told to do that, then definitely they'll consider it. Okay. So don't fret if you have to take less than 5. You definitely can go through this process, and the admissions committee is very compassionate and they definitely consider any request that bears weight. Okay, so that's there. So at this time, I know that I've gone really quickly through that. The other thing I should mention is that when it's time for you to apply, you choose which courses you put forward as the 8 prerequisites. So if you're taking a bachelor's degree in a biological science, chances are you're going to have a good 20 biologies under your belt. You can decide to choose the top 2 marks. As long as the courses fit the category, it doesn't matter what the content is. So don't try to submit a course you didn't do that great in, but you think will be impressed by. No, you choose the courses with the highest marks, and those are the ones that you need to put forward. So you'll have lots of choice in some, not so much in others, but definitely you get to choose which ones fit. And they can be from any semester. So if you took a biology in your first year and you got a great mark, then you can use that mark. So don't worry about that. You can use it from any semester. All right. All right. And then there's lots of rules around the courses, so please read that over. And then there's a couple of changes that have come in the last little while that I want to talk about. The first, and it may not affect you, but it's good to know that now there's no limit on how often you can apply. So we used to have a cap on the number of applications you can make. Now there's no such cap. You can apply as often as you like. So that's there. And then we're also changing for next cycle. So not this cycle. So applying for fall 26 entrance. These are the changes. So the first big change is that you will now consider 4 courses per semester to be full-time. So if now you're doing 4 courses per semester and you're stressing because that's not our definition of full-time, wait a year, and it is. So right there, you have a really great change to make things more accessible to our program. Um, and some of the rules that apply, some rules are pretty much the same as it used to be. One of the rules also is we have a 60-40 rule for now, about the fact that in third and fourth year, your 60% of your courses have to be the third or fourth year level. But here it's 50% because you're only doing four. Okay. So the other thing that's changed is that when we do the calculation for the admissions average, which I'll talk about when we talk about the selection process, right now, we only look at your last two full-time semesters, but next year it's going to be the last four full-time semesters. So what that'll mean is that if you aren't very happy about your marks in first year, wait, and then don't apply right away in third year. Wait until fourth year. We know that people's marks tend to get better as they go in the bachelor's program. For a variety of reasons. And, if your marks aren't where you want them to be, please do get help. There's so much support at universities. There's so many things you can do to help. Sometimes it's even that you may have an undiagnosed learning disability. And once you get diagnosed and learn what techniques work best for you, then that makes all the difference. So, be good to yourself. Get the help you need if you need help. And, if you're not ready to apply in your third year, there's no pressure. You don't have to. You can wait until you're in fourth year. You can wait until you're done. Some people take a non-degree semester after they finished their program just to, increase their marks. You can do that too. But, just do what's good for you. Do what's helps you. And since most of you are already in university, I don't really need to tell you this, but for anyone who's listening to the recording after or who's in high school, it doesn't matter where you go to university. It doesn't matter what program you take, as long as you take all of the prerequisite courses that you need to take. I will say that the majority of the people that come into the vet program do tend to be attracted to more like a Bachelor of Science in biology, that kind of, or animal science, or animal biology here at Guelph tends to be a huge attraction for people. But we don't look at what university you're from or what program you've done when we do their admissions process. It's totally blind. So it's really up to you. You choose a program where you think you're going to flourish and do the best, and that's going to be the most interesting to you, or it's going to be the best option for your lifestyle, whatever. Go where you're going to do best, and that's the best choice for you. We just want to see good marks, so go where you want to go and do what you need to do. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do a bit of a pause here and answer any questions I haven't addressed about just the academic stuff, and then I'll go to the non-academic requirements. So let's go back. I minimized it now, so I'm not sure where I put here. Maybe if I go to here. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. So a few questions in the chat. Oh, lots of questions in the chat. Okay. Wow. All right. I'm going to have to go up a lot.
Sorry, Elizabeth, I think
Oh,
that's
that's
the
my recording.
transcript.
Never mind. Sorry, just a sec. I'm looking at my recording, not the questions. All right. So let's go back up. Yeah, there will be a recording. So someone asked about Natasha. I'm not going to talk too much about the grad cohort. For the grad cohort, the academic requirements are the same, and we want undergrad courses, not grad courses, although there are some grad courses that could be prerequisites. There's a difference in the submissions and the number of references. I'll touch on that briefly, but I don't want to talk too much about the grad cohort only because I don't want to confuse everyone. So yeah. Okay, good question, Hannah. So you can apply, you choose whichever cohort you want to apply to. Even if you have a master's degree or even a PhD, you can decide that, you know what, I'm going to apply in the undergrad cohort because I think that it still sells me better than the grad cohort. So it's up to you. So at any time do whatever cohort you want to do. How do we access the recording? So if you're in the meeting, the recording will end up in the chat of this meeting, so you can access it through here. And it's also going to be put on the YouTube channel for OVC, so you could probably Google it and get there, or just go to the OVC YouTube channel. Okay. If you want to take a field course in university and have a course overload in the same semester with a field course, could you still use that semester to apply to OVC? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the minimum is what we care about, not the maximum, but be careful, don't burn yourself out too, right? So self-care is very important. We don't want you to like overdo things. But yeah, you can do as much as you want. We've had people who apply from 6 course semesters. It's more about the minimum than the maximum. Okay, Kara? All right. For UG graduate level courses, how do we find out if they are approved prerequisites? You have for the grad courses, you have to send them in to be assessed, just the same way you would do for the other courses. Okay. Regarding grade averages for admission, my institution uses letter grades. So what we do is we have a chart where, yeah, so we take the range of what like an A is and we give you the midpoint. So in your case, if an A is 93 to 100, the midpoint would be 90, my gosh, 6, 7, something like that. You can figure it out. So that's what we do. Hope that helps. Yeah, that said, the registrar's office will take care of that. Would a semester or course be considered if it is a prerequisite to a course that I've already taken? Maybe not. So I think right away you need to get that looked at, Brianna. You have to send that in and make sure that you haven't done things in the wrong order. Okay. Are you more likely to be accepted to OVC if you take your undergrad? Well, I answered that question already, so the answer is no. Is it acceptable to complete an undergrad in other universities? Absolutely, and we like that. We like that diversity. Okay, yeah. So as long as you take 5 courses per semester and then next year 4, it doesn't matter if they're all from the same place. So you could balance it, like take 3 at your institution where you are, and then 2 can be virtual. So online courses are fine as long as you're taking them all at the same time and they add up to the 5 courses per semester. Okay, Sarah, does that help? Hope it. Okay. Um, I thought there wasn't a cap before now, but there is a cap. No, it's the opposite. There was a cap before, but now there isn't. So you can apply as many times as you want. Is that what you're asking, Bella? The cap on how many times you can apply? Can you just unmic and say yes or no? Bella, are you here?
Yes, there we go. Now my mic works.
Okay, cool. So Bella, is that what you're asking about the cap on number of times to apply?
Yeah, because that's what my program counselor told me, that there wasn't a cap and there was going to be a cap. That's why I was
Oh,
really
no,
confused.
no. Maybe
It's
they
good
were
to hear
thinking
that.
of the Northern Ontario cohort that there's only going to be 20. I don't know. But you know what? If go let them know that I corrected that, and if they have any other questions, they can feel free to call me or email me and I'll help them with that. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Angela, you are correct. This cycle they're only looking at the last 2 full-time semesters, but next cycle it's going to be the last 4. Okay? Oh, good question. And yeah. So the fall 2026 admission requirements are the new requirements going forward. So that's going to be in perpetuity until they change again. So yes, it's not just for that year, it's for from now on. Okay. So, Allison, if I finished a bachelor's degree in non-science major, Can I return to school to do another bachelor's degree in biology and use the grade from the second degree for the application? Yes, you can do that, but you have to be careful because we don't want you to retake any courses that you've already passed or that you already have like significant overlap in content. So it may not be that way, but be careful about the humanities, social science courses. So that, yes, that's fine if you can do that, but you don't have to. So a lot of people, what they do, like we have a lot of people that have career change. So we have people that every year that have been something else and then they go back to school to get the courses. We have a lot of RVTs that go back to university and get the prerequisites. We have bankers, we have a chef, we had a fighter pilot, we have bankers, all kinds of people. So and we love that too because it adds to our diversity as a class and as a veterinary profession. So you can go back and do a bachelor's. You don't have to. You can, if you want, do some non-degree semesters and get the prerequisites you're missing, and do it that way. But, you know, I don't think OSAP will support you if you do another bachelor's. I think they might. So that's another argument. So yeah, it's up to you how you want to do that. All right, so yes, Lori is talking about having a full-time semester and then dropping one. So for this cycle, that semester would not be eligible, but it will be next year. So if you aren't ready to apply yet, then that's fine if you have 4, right? Is that okay, Lori? Yes?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. All right. So Michaela asks, because applications are due December 31st, will my fall semester of this school year count as one of the 4? Uh, yes. Okay, so I'm not sure which year you're asking about, Michaela. Can you clarify? Are you talking about applying for fall 25 or fall 26?
Sorry, I meant fall 2026, but
26.
yeah.
Yes, yes, you are right. So, applications, there are like 3 deadlines. The December 31st is the deadline for courses to be finished. And that'll be true for next year too. So, because we're going back 4 semesters or 2 years, if you're doing everything in a row, for that group, when you apply, it'll be, let's say you're applying in 3rd year, right? That's the earliest you can still apply. So it'll be fall semester of 3rd year, winter and fall of 2nd year, and winter of 1st year. That make sense?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if like 1st year was a gong show for you, then you want to wait, then go ahead and wait. Like just wait a year and hopefully, probably your course, your marks in 2nd year will be better. Everyone, most people would take a big adjustment in 1st year, so that's totally fine. Can you apply to both the domestic undergrad and the Northern Ontario undergrad? You need to choose one. So it's just like any other cohort, you'll have all those choices. So on the application, you'll be asked, you want to apply for undergrad, Northern Ontario, or grad, and you have to choose one. So you can apply, yeah, so you choose which one you want to apply to. Okay. Phoebe asks, I'm aware that fall 26 admission is different from fall 25. As an international student applying, should I still maintain 2.5 credits for this fall? Okay, so it's true for all the cohorts. So if you want to apply to get in for fall 25, you should try to do 2.5 credits. And then Phoebe, I think it's probably better if you and I chat separately, because the deadlines are so different. I really don't want to get people confused. So I'm happy to like set up a video chat with you, okay? All right. Lindsay, I did answer this question. Courses don't ever expire for us. And yeah, so for the prerequisites, say you did courses in the right sequence, but you did better in the first part of the sequence. Yeah, you choose. So you're asking about like if you take like Phys 1 and Phys 2, both of them are Phys. They can both be used, I think, as biological science, right? So whichever one you want to use, you use. It doesn't matter when you took them, in what order. If as a semester each one is okay, then you can use whatever. Like I said, you can even use a first year course as a prerequisite. So don't worry about that. That's good. Did you say for fall 26 Guelph we'll see our last 2 years marks? Yes, not last 2 years, last most recent 4 semesters. So I don't want to confuse people because sometimes people will do a semester, take a break, and then enough. So it's not necessarily a year. Um, so the last 4 full-time semesters, and full-time will be 4. So if you end up taking a semester with 3 courses, that semester will not be eligible to be used. So it might not be a year. We'll just take the last 4 eligible full-time semesters. Okay, does that help, Aver? Oh, sorry, that was Nicole. Sorry, Nicole, was that good? Okay. So what are your tips for the last year high school students planning to apply to OVC after completing an undergrad? Um, you know what? I'm going to talk more about that later, about the non-academic stuff. But for now, it's just, get ready to go to university. Do like I call it online shopping for undergrads. See which ones you want to really go to by looking at what courses you'll take. Definitely go visit campuses, see which ones resonate with you. I know a lot of people that come to Guelph and they love it here, so that's why they chose Guelph. But it's also about what courses you're going to take because you want to like where you're going to go for university, right? So I would definitely, choose your university based on you and what works well for you, and talk to current students, see what they like. Connect with the Future Vets Club here. You can already join even in high school, and come to their events if they're virtual and you're far away. That's cool. And you can talk to the students that are here and what they like about Guelph, and but definitely chat with people in different programs. If you want to stay close to home, that's good too. All of the universities are great, and you don't even have to stay in Ontario. We have students that are from Ontario and they go to Dow or they go to UBC or they go to UVic or wherever. It's wherever you want to go that really resonates with you, right? So the world is your oyster. Go have at it and have fun. And once you get to university, if you find that you're struggling, get help because there's so much help out there and there's no shame in asking for help. Everyone needs a little bit of help sometimes. So please don't let that hold you back. All right. So Marina asks, since we're applying in December, are the marks from the last 2 semesters from this current semester and last year's second semester? Yes. Or would this fall semester marks be too late? No, because you'll get the final marks by the end of December, and then marks are due in March, right? So the fall semester, if it qualifies, is the last semester that you can use before you apply for next fall. Okay? Okay, Marina, is that clear? Is that good? Yes. And Annie, I don't know about the course requirements. Like, I think they look at the learning goals and if it fits with the learning objectives that we want you to have coming into first year, then that's, what we'll look at. Let me just show you something. I didn't show it to you before, but it is there for you to look at. So if you go all the way back, let me see. Okay, let's go back to the last page, which was the main page for DVM learning. if you go down just a little bit, you can look at what you learn in the vet program. So these are the 4 years of the program, and you can click explore all courses, and it'll take you to like the full curriculum and what you'll learn. So definitely look at that to know what you're getting into. But if you look at the first year, so all of the requirements, like the prerequisites, are meant to feed in to first year of the program. So you need genetics for developmental biology. It's good if you take anatomy, like we have a course at Guelph called mammalian anatomy, which really prepares you for veterinary anatomy. Don't have to take it, but it's good. It's also good to take physiology because you will be taking veterinary physiology and biochem, but we need you to take biochem for this first year course. We need you to take cell biology for histology, and the social science humanities is also for other kinds of skills that you'll need for the vet program and to be a veterinarian. So that's what you need to know. Okay, now I have to, great, I have to go click again. Sorry. All right. So I'm gonna just go back and see if there's any more burning questions. So let's see. Emma, your statement is not true, actually. Any semester, as long as it's full-time, is good. So you do have to be full-time, however. So sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to get 5 courses in a summer semester. So you may have to supplement in-person courses with virtual courses, but as long as all the credits add up to 5 courses, then that's fine. You can use a summer semester. If I complete my degree out of province, then return to my home to Ontario. Oh, are you asking about residency, Cindy? So, Cindy, is that what you're asking about? I
Yes,
did
it is.
Okay, so the residency is anytime during your lifetime. So even if you were a child and you live for 12 months straight in Ontario, we'll consider you a resident. So the answer is no. You can apply right away. You can even apply while you're in your out of province school. So that's fine with us, but there's no waiting. The rule of waiting 12 months is only if you've never lived in Ontario ever and you want to come to our school as a domestic applicant. So you'd have to live here for 12 months by January 1st and apply. You could start applying in December because the first deadline's December 1st, but the 12 months residency has to be done by the January 1st deadline. Kind of backwards a little bit, but does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Okay. So Leah, yeah, you have to be careful about sequencing and not taking courses out of order, like taking a course and then taking the prerequisite to that course after you've taken the course. So, yeah, you have to be careful with that. Hey, Shadi, I didn't realize you were here. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Nice to hear your voice.
Thanks.
So for those of you who are curious why I know Shadi is the co-president of the Canadian Pre-Veterinary Medical Association, so CPVMA, which is a great pre-vet organization that strives to unite all of pre-vet students across Canada. So if you are interested in that organization and knowing more about it, you can reach out to her. Okay, can we request a, sorry to put you on the spot, right? Can we request a past 4-course semester that's part of our most recent 2 semesters, not to be looked at intensely, what's a semester? Okay, so what happens is if there's a 4-course semester for this cycle, they'll ignore it, right? You can't use it unless you have accommodation, right? Unless you go through that process. But if you want to use it for next cycle when 4 is full time, then that's cool. That's fine. that what you were asking?
Yeah, sorry, my question was kind of long-winded, but like if I intentionally dropped a course or just decided to take a four-course semester when four-course semesters weren't looked at, like when is the 2026 admission cycle? Am I allowed to ask
Yep.
admissions to not look at that semester, or would they just look at it because it's now considered full-time in
It's now
2026?
considered full-time. So that's what I was saying at the very beginning. Like, if you're taking 4 course semesters, you're considered full-time in most of North America. That's the definition. So we're going back to that definition ourselves. So if you do
Okay, that's good to know.
okay. Okay, so I'm hoping, Navia, that I kind of explained it well in terms of timing. Do you still have questions about the timing, or is that good?
A few
Navia?
questions. Sorry. It was like the call meeting was like going in and out for me. So when you were talking about it earlier, I got like kind of like patches. So I just hope to ask again just to get like further clarification if that's okay.
Sure. So as I said before, so this semester, the full-time definition hasn't changed. It's still 5, but next cycle, so if you're applying to get in for fall 26, then full-time will now be 4 courses per semester. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Maria, yes. The answer is yes. There's no cap anymore. So go on, have at it. Apply again. Oh, okay. Okay, so Elise, yes, I think I did answer this question, but yes, it doesn't matter. You can use online courses and in-person courses and mix it up as much as you want. As long as it adds up to 5 right now, then it's full time, and then same thing with 4 down the road, because online courses are considered equivalent to in-person courses for us. So that's cool. They just have to be university level, so don't forget that. Lindsay asked about deferring. So, if you want to get into the vet program, apply to the vet program. If you want to finish your bachelor's degree, then finish your bachelor's degree and then apply. We only allow deferrals for specific reasons, and most of them have to do with things that happen that are outside of your control, like a death in the family or, you know, things, happen. So if it's a choice, like you want to go backpacking through Europe instead of doing the vet program, we will not accept that and you'll have to apply again. And the same thing for completing your degree. If you want to complete your degree, that's great. You don't need it to get into the vet program. Saves you a year of tuition. And I can guarantee that when you go to your first job interview, when you're ready to graduate the program, no one is going to ask you, so did you finish your bachelor's degree first before you did your DVM? Because it doesn't matter. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to do that, but don't waste an application on, applying if you know that's what you want to do. Okay. When do applications open for 2025? Okay, so I'm going to segue now to the rest of the discussion, and I'm going to come back. So if I haven't answered your questions yet, I will, but I do want to save time because it's already an hour and almost an hour, and I haven't gotten to the second half of the content. So let's start with that and then come back, okay? All right, so put that down. So here are some things that you have to do in addition to the academics that we talked about. No one should be surprised that they have to write the Casper test. So for Canadians, you have to write the Casper 2. Same thing for international, by the way, but the deadline is different. So we need to get the score in February. So the latest you can write the Casper is late January. So I think the last Well, I have this in my mind today. I think it's January 25th this year. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But if you're applying this cycle, you have to write the test by January 25th. That's the last date available to you. And you have to write it every cycle. So if you write it this year to apply for fall 25 and you don't get in, then you'd have to write it again next time. So just keep that in mind. And I won't talk too much about the Casper. Just know that you can learn all about it by going to the website and learning more about that. But it really is like an assessment of your soft skills, which are so important for veterinary medicine. And then, of course, here are the experiences. So here's veterinary experience. Now, the one thing I want you to leave with is the understanding that we don't have a minimum, but we want you to do this. You have to do this because we want you to be absolutely sure that this is the career that you want to do. And the only way for you to be sure is to try it and to, be up close and personal with the profession. So in order to do that, we want you to job shadow veterinarians. So veterinary experience is not attending a class where your professor is a veterinarian. That is not veterinary experience to us. Veterinary experience is job shadowing. And it doesn't have to be in a clinic, although the majority of people do that, and that's fine. What we want you to do is really get a taste for what vets do day to day, because that's your future, right? But you can also get veterinary experience by either volunteering or working over the summer with a researcher who's a veterinarian. And at the University of Guelph, we have a lot of researchers that that are veterinarians that hire summer students. So that's a plus. And, being a student at Guelph, that's one of the pluses that you have in exposure to that. But there's also lab animal vets at every large university that has a lab animal facility, and that's another place you can shadow. There are veterinarians that work in government and that work in industry, like the pharmaceutical industries and the nutrition industries. So those are all great places to work and to find out what veterinarians do in those fields. So, try them out. Best thing you can do is start networking now. Let people know that you're looking to gain experience. You never know when someone has a relative or a friend who's a vet, and might be able to put in a good word for you. You can always start with your own vet if you have animals and that you take them to, or that they come to your farm, and you can let them know that they've been inspired by them in some way to become a veterinarian and you'd like to job shadow and get a bit of hours under their supervision, and then they can refer you to someone else they know that works with another group of animals, different species. The other thing is it's good to go to work in different areas or different clinics just to see how things are done differently in different workplaces, but you won't be penalized if you only get one clinic experience. And again, there's no minimum number of hours, but keep in mind that, it's the depth of the experience that's really important, that you really learn what veterinary medicine is all about. So the other tip I have for you is, if you haven't already, I would start a log or a journal of all of the stuff that you're doing with the hours and what you learned and some interesting cases that you saw. You know, because when you apply, then you'll have that there and you won't be, you'll have it ready. So you won't have to search your memory too long for trying to figure out what kind of work you did. And the other thing is that when you work in a vet clinic, not everything you do is going to be veterinary experience. So again, remember, our definition of veterinary experience is when you work directly with the vet's in the room and you're job shadowing. It's not cleaning cages, it's not working at the reception, although those things are great too, but it's not what we call veterinary experience, okay? So the next experience is animal related experience. And again, there's no minimum number of hours, but we do want you to try to gain some comfort level and experience with different kinds of animals, because once you start your vet program, you're going to be working with all kinds of animals. And if you've never touched a horse or a cow before, well, you're going to have to do it anyway. But you might be a bit intimidated. It's for you too, right? It's for you to gain that comfort level with animals, to learn a bit about, their behavior, maybe some of the medical issues that they face. The only thing, like, there's a couple of things that would count, but one thing that doesn't is pet ownership. It says that right here. So be careful, because you can't claim pet ownership as animal experience. We want you to go out and do different things. So, try your best to get different kinds of experience. We're volunteer on a farm, and we get that people in the big cities don't have a lot of, farm animal exposure. Racetrack, maybe, see if you can volunteer there. Or you can maybe do the lab animal thing that I mentioned before, or volunteer at humane societies. So that's also good animal experience. There are vets that work there, and that's a good way to learn about shelter medicine. But most of the volunteering at places like the Humane Society is not necessarily vet related, more animal related, which is good too. And then extracurricular stuff is all the other stuff, which is like jobs and volunteering, being a member of the executive of the Future Vets Club, or being the, on the executive of the CPVMA, hint, hint. So these are all great things to put on your application as ways that you work with people. Because guess what? Working with people is a big part of veterinary medicine. And I don't have to tell you that every animal you're going to deal with usually comes with a human attached to it, right? So knowing how to deal with people, especially difficult people who are very emotional, it's an important skill to learn. So even things like customer service are great things to have. Okay, so those are the 3 areas of experience. So again, you should be writing down everything you're doing, the number of hours you're doing, and then you have it ready for when you apply. And then when it's time to apply, one of the things you're going to need to have are 3 referee assessments. So here's another thing that's changed for this year going forward, is that you only need 1 veterinary reference. But again, it should be a veterinarian that you gained experience with. So not a faculty member that you took a course with, or the vet that you take your animals to, but someone you've actually gained experience with. Because we're going to ask them questions about if they feel you'll be a good future colleague. And the only way for them to be able to assess that is if they've seen you doing the work and learning from them, kind of thing. So very important that you do that. And I already know what you're thinking. Everyone asks me, is it okay if 2 of my references or all of my references are veterinarians? Yeah, of course, that's fine. We just want professional, unbiased references. So no family members, no friends of family. Even if they're a veterinarian, no, not if they're a family member. Okay, that's a no-no. The other thing is that if they're all from the same clinic, that's fine too. So I know that many people tend to ask that question. It's fine if everyone is from the same clinic, and your veterinary reference cannot be from a vet tech. Okay, so it has to be from a DVM, and it has to be submitted by the DVM and signed by the DVM. It's fine if they do a joint letter, but the DVM has to be the one that submits it and signs it. Okay? Okay, so that's the references. And then there's a personal essay that you'll have to answer when you get your background information form. And we'll talk about that. It's really just a question, general question about your pathway to becoming a vet and all that stuff. So that's a personal reflection on your end. And I would definitely make a copy of your application before you submit it, so that you have it before you do the interview. So that's a hint. Okay. So let's just quickly talk about the application process and the deadlines, and then how people are assessed. And then we can go back to questions, and I'm here, I can be here until 8 o'clock. So if you want to stay and just hear answers to questions, I'm happy to do that. All right, so Let's talk
Hi,
about
Elizabeth.
deadlines.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, are you supposed to be or sharing your screen right now, or are you just speaking? I just wanted to clarify because I can't see any
Oh, you don't
screen
see
sharing.
anything? Oh,
But maybe
no.
other people do. It could be a me problem.
No, could be. I thought I was sharing my screen, but hold on.
I could see.
Yeah, so you should be seeing the website. Does everyone see the
Then
website?
maybe it's a me problem. Other people are saying they can see, so
Yeah.
maybe my Teams isn't working properly.
I
I'm
can't
gonna.
see either.
It could be, okay, so click on your Teams. I'm going to show you this, okay? So you see that if you go down and you click on your Teams, there are several, so there could be several things open, all right? So it could be that you have it on the wrong, like you have to minimize the, oh my gosh, help me, Sarah. So you minimize the meeting part and you should see another screen. Does that work?
I'll play around with it.
Okay, yeah, it should
I'll
be
figure it out.
there. It should be there because there are a couple of views. It could be the view you're using, right? So if you go to the view, hold on. Let me get the thing here. Yeah, so view. So if you go to view, it might give you a different view where you can see what I have being shared. Play with that. You see if you go up to the menu, there's a view button. Maybe it's not. Sorry, I have a senior cat and he's sometimes a bit needy. So if I'm leaning to the side, it's because I'm petting him. So sorry. Is that better? Have you
Okay,
got
thank you.
You got it?
I have not, but I'm just gonna log out and then log back in.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
All right, so these are the deadlines. So the first thing that's due is application form and fees. So these are due December 1st every year. So for those of you who are at the University of Guelph doing your undergrad, you'd use the internal transfer form. If you are from any other university, including a Canadian and the US university, you'd use the UAC application. And it's the same system that you used to apply initially when you went to university. So UAC is Ontario University Application Center, and it usually opens, I think it's open now, if I'm not mistaken. Has anyone tried applying already, and is it open? I think it usually opens like mid to late September. If not, it will open. So for sure, by October, it'll open. And the internal transfer form as well usually comes into play like later in September. So if everyone is looking for it and they haven't found it and it's not available yet, or it says it's closed, it's because it hasn't opened yet for the next cycle. So be patient, and for sure, like by October, it'll be there. And you don't have to do it until December 1st. So you have lots of time. Okay. So that's the first deadline. And really all it is you putting in your name and paying the fee. You don't have to do anything else. On the UAC application, there's like all kinds of uh, fields to fill in from like all your experience. Don't fill it in. You don't have to. Okay. Just put in your name and address and what you're applying to and submit. All the other stuff about your background and your experience, you're gonna fill in the background information form, or the BIF that we call. Okay, so that's due December 1st, and then it's not here, but January 1st is the deadline for the 12 months of residency. If you haven't done that at some point during your life, you have to do it by then. And then the next deadline is for the background information form, or BIF. You'll hear the word BIF a lot, so that's what it is. And that form will be made available to you. So if you're not from Guelph, you're going to be assigned a University of Guelph email, and you're going to be given access to a system called Web Advisor. And on Web Advisor, there are forms that you'll have access to, and that's where you'll find your background information form, and you'll be able to fill it in. So that's the application that you fill in, and this is where you get to fill in all your background, like all the volunteering you've done, vet experience, animal experience, extracurricular work stuff. It's going to ask you for the name and email of your 3 referees, so be sure that you've already asked them and that they've committed to giving you a fantastic reference. And if they hesitate, do not pursue it. Find someone else, okay? And then, so that's the BIF, and then you write an essay as well, and that's due February the 1st usually, but because that falls on a weekend this year, this cycle, it'll be February 3rd. And remember, this earlier you submit the form, the earlier your referees will get the notice that they have to do a letter. Okay, so you know how busy vets are. I would say if you get your application done and submitted by mid-January, it gives them a little longer. But yeah, at the least they'll have a month. Okay, so you have to submit by February 3rd this cycle, and then the next thing that's due are the 3 referee assessments, and then your transcripts. So you have to send all of your transcripts in from all your post-secondary education. So if you did vet tech and then you're doing undergrad, you have to send in both those transcripts. We're not going to use the vet tech marks for anything, but you just have to send everything in. Okay, so that's due March 3rd. And then Casper scores, like I said, you have to have them in February, so you have to write them by the end of January. Okay? So you go to Casper and they'll tell you what dates are available. Okay, so that's the deadlines. And then let's talk about the selection process. So, step 1, we look at the academic average, which is 50% your last 2 full-time semesters, and again, it's going to switch to 4 for the next cycle, and your 8 prerequisite courses that you choose, and we come up with a number, and that's like 100%, and then we reduce it to 75%, and then we add your Casper score as 25%, and that is your admissions average. So the academics is just the courses and the semesters, down first 100, then to 75, and then 25% Casper, and that's your admissions average. Then we rank everybody from top to bottom, and the top, well, it's going to be different now. So because the class is increasing by 20, we're going to increase the number of people interviewed by 40, because we usually interview twice as many people as the cohort. So the top ranked applicants, so in this case, we're going to be reviewing, let me see, we did about 240, so we'll probably have to do close to 300 background information forms. So we're going to review a whole bunch of applications and decide if there's any flags. So what happens is, for the file review, is that we flag people who have something like an issue with their application. And normally, I think the biggest issue that usually comes out is a problem with a reference. So that's why it's so important that when you ask for your references, you get them to tell you, yes, I have no problem giving you a stellar reference. And if it's anything less than that, don't pursue it. Go to someone else, okay? Especially if it's a veterinarian and they say, I don't feel comfortable, or I don't think I know you well enough. That's it. Leave it. Don't go after it, okay? So those people that have issues with their application, we review them as a group. The admissions committee looks at them, and those that we feel warrant taking out of the mix, they get removed. And then the top, so for the undergrad Canadian Guelph cohort, we're going to interview 200. For the Northern Ontario cohort, we're going to interview 40, because we're going to accept half of them. So it's 2 to 1, right? And then we do the virtual interviews. So the virtual interviews are run usually in later, like they're probably going to move to later in May, but they're going to be in May probably, depending on what happens. So we announce the dates as soon as we know them, and we'll know them in the new year. And they are 4 stations where you have to answer a question at each station. And the questions are pretty much general about, your road to OVC, your motivations, your experiences, stuff like that. Okay, so there's no studying that you can do for the interview, but a good suggestion is to review your application, to remember some of the stuff that you wrote about, and maybe your journal as well, to, like look back on some interesting cases maybe that you experienced, because they're going to ask you about your background and your experiences and what led you to OVC and being a vet and all that stuff. Okay. So um, that's the process overall. And usually by the second week of June, the emails will go out with offers and telling people, they got an offer or they didn't get an offer. And so you can tell by this process that if you get an email before the interviews, that you are not getting an interview, unfortunately. It's either because you weren't competitive and your marks are below that threshold for the top 200, or you were, there was a problem with your application. We won't tell you which it is, but I think most people can reflect on whether or not their marks were stellar or not, and they might have to look at what could have possibly been wrong with my application, and kind of look at it and think about it and do some self-reflection. So we won't tell you why you were taken out of the competition, but if you're taken out before the interviews, it's usually one or the other. And then if you're not accepted after you have the interview, it could just be by this much, by a point of a percentage, that your marks or your interview score just didn't get you in the top 100. And it is very close, like the number 100 and number 101 for the domestic cohort is very close. So any little bit you can boost your marks or your interview, practice your interviews. Another tip that someone gave about Casper was to practice your keyboarding, because some of the questions you have to type, if you want to use that word, or keyboard your answers. So, practice keyboarding is always a good way to increase your efficiency and make sure you have everything down that you want to have down. So those are some things that you can do to help increase your efficiency. Yeah, so that's kind of the rundown, and I hope that's helpful. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. All of you can go to the website and look through this yourself. But I do want to answer questions, and I'll go to the chat. But if people have their hand up, I'll also, if you want to ask your question live and be recorded, that's fine too. It's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. All right, there you go. And now we should all see each other. Okay, so okay, that I talked about. Okay, so just to clarify, semesters with retaken courses will not be eligible as one of the 4 full-time semesters looked at. Correct, Anya. If we are applying to the 2026 application cycle with a 5-course full-time semester, will the 60-40 rule still apply? Good question. I haven't gotten that question yet, and I'm assuming so. We still want you to take the majority of your courses in 3rd or 4th year, and not to pad your marks by taking too many first year, second year courses. So I would assume that is correct. But if you want to email me with that, that's fine. I'm going to put my email in the chat. I don't know if, so it's vetmed@uoguelph.ca. And remember, I do not do course evaluations. That would be through that thing. Okay. Um, okay, oh my God, there's lots of questions. Okay, just give me a second. Let me find where I was before. Um, okay, oh, my goodness. Okay, there we go. I found my place. Okay. What documents are needed to prove residency in Northern Ontario? I'm not sure. That's something that the registrar will figure out. I believe they'll ask you for, if it was when you were a child, it could be like your elementary or high school diploma or transcript or something like that. So that would be a registrar question. But yeah. If you've been given approval to submit prerequisites from a non-full-time semester due to circumstances outside of your control, can you also use those semesters as the 4 semesters? Yeah, of course. Like if it's been deemed as usable, it's usable for everything, right? So yeah, that's fine. I'm in arts and science, and we have to fulfill prerequisites from both the arts and sciences. Most of us end up having to take more second year courses in third year. Yes. Yes. So yes, absolutely. So Catherine, if it's like I said before, if it's part of your program and that's how you have to do it, you need to make sure that your advisor submits a letter saying that that's the case, and it will be totally okay. If only 3 courses are taken in a semester due to illness, will it be eligible with the admission accommodation? It will, but you have to go through the process, Allison. So you have to submit the doctor's note with your transcript, and you have to apply for that accommodation. Okay. If I'm applying to 26, will the 2 credits in the summer be eligible? Absolutely. Why not? How will the 60-40 rule apply to 2 credits? It's 50-50 from what I've just read. For those of us planning to apply next year for third year, you mean in third year? Will the 10 credit rule apply?
We're in second year right now, but we're applying next year for third year.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, it looks like that rule will apply for you. Sarah, I don't know. It's a good question about the other university. I think that you have to submit everything before you even take the courses to the registrar's office to make sure that they are okay with it, okay? Full-time semester includes 2 year-long courses. Okay.
That was my question. I'm actually enrolled in the courses right now, and they were signed and approved by the registrar's office. So I'm actually taking them currently at Guelph, and they're approved.
Okay, so that should be fine. Because they're the ones that do all of the course stuff for us. We don't have our own registrar. It's all University of Guelph.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, this is interesting. So Anna, I'm applying for 25, but currently enrolled in a full-time semester that includes 2 year-long courses. So I'll not have the final grades for these 2 courses by December 31st. Does that mean my fall 24 semester will not be able to count as one of my most recent full-time semesters? You are correct. So you can still use courses in there as prerequisites as long as they're just within that semester because it's considered full time. But because we don't have a final mark, we can't use them in the calculation. So we'll have to go back to your third year, right? You're in fourth year? Is that what I read? Yeah, so we'll go back to the last year. Okay. Okay, so for the fall 26 requirements, those are for applying for fall 26 entry. That's what it means. I was referring to your last 4 full-time semesters. Would mine be my graduate semesters? No, it's always undergrad. It's only undergrad. We only look at undergrad. Is there any variation of the weighing for your Casper interview semesters average and prerequisites? Magda, I'm not sure what you mean. So initially it's like 75% marks in last 2 semesters and then 25% Casper. And then, so that's your admissions average. And then after the virtual interview, the admissions average goes down to 65% and your mark on the interview becomes 35. And that's your final rank.
Thank you. That answers it. And
That's answered, yeah.
Does that apply for 2026 as well?
That hasn't changed.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That mix hasn't changed yet. I don't know. Things may change again one day, but keep your eyes peeled on the website. But we usually let people know before the cycle begins if that's going to be the case. So Alexandra, you have to take the Casper in the year you're applying. So you can't take one now for next year. You have to take it before the year you apply. So, or the year you apply? Yeah. So if you're going to apply for fall 25, you have to write it now, before the end of January. If you're applying for next cycle, then it would be before the end of January 25. No, 26. Too many years. Okay. For the BIF, all fields ask for a validator, but I was wondering if there are any rules as to who can be a validator. You say you need validator for intramural volleyball or competitive soccer. Can it be a teammate? No, it has to be someone that supervised you. So a coach, a referee, it could be a team captain, but not just a teammate. So someone who actually maybe was a little bit above you and can say, that they can assess your skills. Because don't forget I mean, it's more for us to be able to validate that you've done it. So we want someone who's more of a supervisor or in that kind of role. Doesn't mean they have to be a paid supervisor, just means someone who might be a little bit kind of in a role above you. So that I think would work, like a team captain or a coach. Okay. Okay, Katrina, I think I just answered that. It's okay, so Andrew, as long as you have one, it doesn't matter if you have two veterinary references or three. It's that you have to have one that's stellar, okay? And if you can have two that's stellar, that's great too, as long as they're stellar. And if you have to choose between a veterinarian that may not be quite as stellar and someone who supervised you in a summer job who's going to give you an amazing reference, choose the other one. Okay, so that's what, yeah. So I think that's what I would say. It's up to you who you want to have your references. Yes, you can have the vet tech as a reference for sure, but it can't be the veterinary one. Okay. Yeah, that's right, Isabel. Okay, weird question. So you are correct, Bruno. Honeybee experience is not animal experience. Insect experience. It's not animal experience, so it would not count. Yeah, it's not, that's not what we mean. No. Yes, it's part of the profession now, but it's not, we still consider vertebrates what we want you to get experience with, okay? A good question, Grace. So Grace asked about how far back we can go with our experiences. So I know some people dip back to high school, which is okay. We just would hope that you'd have something a little more recent. So It's up to you. Like experiences don't expire either. But I would say do try to get some university level volunteering experience. And, you know, the admissions committee, if they see that your only experience with vets was when you did co-op in high school, they might they might question your you know, your, oh my God, the word's not coming to me, your commitment to the profession. So just keep that in mind. If I worked in a clinic and did both cleaning work and vet shadowing and appointments or surgery, does that still count as veterinary experience? Yeah, the hours you spent with the vet, yes. The hours you spent cleaning, that's work. So that would, you'd split it up like that. My Casper schedule is for October 16th, but the deadline for Casper International Cohort is November 1st. It says it takes 2 to 3 weeks until we see the result. Should I take Casper test earlier? Um, so when so Phoebe, when you went to the Casper site and you put in our university, right? It gave you the test dates that you could take for our program, correct? You here still here, Phoebe? Looks like she might have left. As yeah, so if it's on the Casper website as saying that this is okay for you to take and in this cycle for our school, then that's fine. If you get into vet school abroad and you do a year there, can you then apply to transfer to Guelph? No. Sam, we don't take transfer students. You have to apply into first year. For the 2026 application, when 4 courses is considered a full course load, would I be able to choose my top 4 course marks from previous semesters? No. How can we reach out to you about the grad cohort applications? I just put my email in the chat. Last year's interview process didn't have any questions from the panelists. Has that changed for this cycle? Will we be asked to expand on experiences? Ezekiel, no. That the questions are the questions, and you have to answer the questions. The questions themselves have incorporated the other questions that would have been asked, so it's just them listening to what you have to say. Okay, Elena, I knew it's get someone asking about statistics. We don't release the statistics anymore. But most people want to know if they're competitive. And I'm going to tell you that the range for people getting into the program is like mid 80s and up. So again, someone with mid 80s probably did super well in the Casper and in the interviews to get into the top 100. And people with really high marks get rejected because they don't do well in the interview and the Casper. So they're all pretty important. And, you know, we're pretty happy when the Casper and the interviews push someone into the top 100 because we know their skills are really good. So that's how I'll answer that. I hope that's helpful. Yes, so Emily, that is correct. If I see you're here. So the dates that are listed for our school in Casper are the dates that are good. So as long as you take it, including that last date, we'll get the scores in time. So yes, that's fine. Just don't wait until February because there's no dates in February, folks. So yeah. Yes, you will use the internal transfer form to apply. And it's only in the BIF where you tell us which cohort you're going to apply to, I believe. Yeah, the BIF. So that initial internal transfer form has nothing to do with cohorts. It's just I'm applying. And then later on, you'll tell us which one you want to apply to. Okay, Isabel, yes, I was only talking about companion animals. So if you live on a farm and you work with farm animals, that definitely is experience with animals. But I was just talking about companion animals. Okay. So Marino, if you work in Northern Ontario but live somewhere else, that doesn't make you a resident. So you would apply to the regular cohort. If I was an employee at a clinic, so they were paying me, is that still valid veterinarian to obtain a reference from? Absolutely, that's fantastic, as long as you gained experience with them. So remember, that's the key. If you're paid, if you're volunteer, it really doesn't matter. All the better if you're paid, right, Carissa? But yeah, that's fine. That's fine. If the Casper scores are due in February, does that mean we have to do the test in January? Well, Marie, that's also true. You can do it either one as long as the date is in the site, Casper for OVC. For the intramurals, are there no supervisor that is involved with the team? So how would that work? Salvatore, are you still here? Unfortunately, I'm answering questions for people that are no longer here. So again, it would be a team captain or something like that. Phoebe's no longer here, but she asks, I used to tutor a lot of students. Should I put their international personal contact number on the BIF form? If you did it outside of like student experience, yeah, I guess you could do that. So just to clarify, the fall 26 requirements are for those who are applying in fall 25. Yeah, you start in fall 25. That's correct. Isabel, I just went through the whole admissions process, so that's what we look for in an applicant. I hope that helps. Is a reference letter from a veterinarian that you have shadowed extensively, but who you originally connected with because they have been the vet for your own animals an acceptable reference? Absolutely. So again, they can be your reference because you've gained experience with them. But what I was saying was you shouldn't ask the vet that you take your animals to if that's the only way they know you. But if you've volunteered with them, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, so Michaela, are you still here? No, well, she asks, would it be all right to include a vet as a reference if they worked with you in the lab setting, not with animals? Yes, absolutely, because that is part of veterinary medicine. Right, great. Okay, I think I finally covered all of the questions in the chat. Do any of you have questions that you'd like to ask? Like open your mic and ask me? How about this? How about I turn off the recording and then people can ask whatever they want? Okay, so I'm going to turn off the recording now and you're free to turn on your microphone and your cameras. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, stopped.